Nobody teaches men the rules. They just punish them for not knowing. Nobody told you that begging destroys what love built. Nobody told you that the moment you made her approval your oxygen, you handed her the power to suffocate you. You weren't weak. You were uninformed. And the men running the game you've been losing, they knew the rules before they were 20. In the next 10 minutes, I'm giving you those rules. Every single one. Stay until the final code, because the man who walks out of this video, nobody will ever hand him a loss again. The silent killer. There's a fire that doesn't announce itself with flames. It starts as smoke, so thin you almost can't see it. A small compromise here, a swallowed word there, a moment where your gut said, stand, and you sat down instead. That was the silent killer. Not a fight. Not one catastrophic moment you can point to and say that's where it went wrong. It was quieter than that, more patient. It moved through your relationship the way rust moves through iron, invisible until the whole structure is gone. Every time you checked her mood before you decided your own, the rust spread. Every time you apologized for something that wasn't yours to carry, the rust spread. Every time you sent that second text, the follow-up to the follow-up, the rust spread. You weren't being loving, you were leaking. And she felt every drop. Here's what nobody tells men. Respect isn't built in the big moments. It isn't built when you buy the gift or show up when she calls. Respect is built or destroyed in the small moments. The moment you hold your standard when it's uncomfortable. The moment you disagree when it would be easier to agree. The moment you stay grounded when everything is pulling you to collapse. Those moments are the test. And most men fail them, not because they're weak, but because nobody ever told them they were being tested. Think about a tree in a storm. The tree that survives isn't the one that fights the wind, it's the one with the deepest roots. The man who keeps respect isn't the one who never makes mistakes. He's the one whose identity doesn't move when pressure arrives. You were a tree with shallow roots. Not because you were born that way, because nobody showed you how to grow them. She wasn't looking for perfect. She was looking for grounded. And grounded is something nobody taught you how to be. The fall. Every man has a moment he replays at 2 a.m. You know yours. Maybe it was a text you sent that you knew you shouldn't have. The moment you hit send. Maybe it was a conversation where you had every right to stand firm, and you folded. Maybe it wasn't one moment. Maybe it was 6 months of slow erosion. A year of choosing her comfort over your own code, until one day you looked in the mirror and didn't recognize the man looking back. That's the fall. Not dramatic, not loud. The fall is quiet. It happens in the private moments nobody sees. It happens when a man starts building his entire sense of self on someone else's approval. When her good morning means the day is good, and her silence means the day is ruined. When her mood becomes his weather. That man is not free. He is a hostage wearing the mask of a partner. And here's the part that cuts deepest. The fall doesn't just cost you the relationship. It costs you yourself. The man who spends 2 years shrinking for someone else doesn't just lose her. He loses his voice, his edge, the part of him that used to walk into a room and own it without trying. He traded all of that for the temporary comfort of not being alone. That is the most expensive trade a man will ever make. Think of a sword left in water. A sword is built for battle, for purpose, for direction. Leave it in still water long enough. It doesn't stay sharp. It corrodes. Not because it became a bad sword, because it was never used for what it was built for. You were built for something, a direction, a standard, a code. The moment you abandoned that code to manage someone else's emotions, you left the sword in the water. And the worst part? The person you were trying to keep felt it happening. She didn't want you to shrink. She wanted you to stand. But by the time she pulled away, the man who could have stood was already gone. You can't beg your way back from the fall. You can't explain your way back. There is only one way back. You don't recover from the fall by reaching for what you lost. You recover by becoming someone loss can't touch. The return. The return isn't a moment, it's a decision. And it starts exactly here. Most men try to return by fixing the external. Get back in the gym, make more money, text less, act unbothered. That's not the return. That's performance with a better costume. And she will feel the difference between a man who is genuinely grounded and a man who is pretending. The same way you can feel the difference between a real fire and a photograph of one. The return starts internally. It starts with a line a man draws and says, "This is who I am. This is what I will accept and what I will not. This is the standard I hold whether anyone is watching or not." Not because it impresses her, not because it wins her back, because it's the truth of who he actually is, underneath everything the world talked him out of being. That line is the code. The man who draws that line stops bleeding energy into rooms that don't deserve it. He stops sending the text, not because he plays games, because he has nothing to prove. He stops apologizing for his standards, not because he becomes cold, because he becomes clear. Cold men push people away. Clear men pull the right people in. Think of a lighthouse. It doesn't chase the ships. It doesn't swim out to find them. It doesn't apologize for the storms. It stands. It burns. And every ship that needs it finds it. That is what the return builds. Not a man who chases respect. A man who becomes impossible to disrespect. And here's what changes when that man shows up. The rooms change. Not because he announces himself differently, because he carries himself differently. The energy of a man who needs nothing from the interaction but brings everything to it. That energy is felt before a word is spoken. It changes how people speak to him, how strangers read him, how the people who once overlooked him suddenly can't stop paying attention. You already felt that man inside you. He was the one who got angry in chapter 1. He was the one who couldn't look away in chapter 2. He never left. He's been buried under every compromise, every apology, every moment you chose comfort over truth. He's still there, and he is done waiting. The lighthouse doesn't chase the ships. It burns, and they come. The final code. Most men will watch this and wake up tomorrow exactly the same, because knowing the rules isn't enough. Every man who ever read about swimming and then drowned knew the rules. What separates the men who change from the men who don't is not information. It's environment. It's brotherhood. It's a room full of men who hold the same code and refuse to let each other fall below it. That room is the family code, not a channel, not content. A standard of living for men who are done with the fall and ready for the return. Inside, we go 10 levels deeper than what you just heard. The men already inside are not watching from the sidelines. They are building, in silence, with a code that most men will spend their entire lives never finding. 99% of men will never find this. You already did. This is just the surface. Type, "I follow the code," in the comments right now. Not for me, as a declaration to yourself, that the version of you that begged, that folded, that left the sword in the water, that man ends today. The return starts now.